Prince Andrew is reportedly considering a legal bid to overturn the multi-million-pound settlement with accuser Virginia Giuffre. That is following the news that Ms Giuffre dropped a different lawsuit against another man she'd accused of sexual assault, claiming she may have made a mistake.
Meanwhile, clips released ahead of Ghislaine Maxwell's first film interview from prison reveal she believes the now infamous photo of Prince Andrew with a then 17-year-old Giuffre is actually a fake. And we can take a listen to that interview from prison.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it's real for a second. In fact, I'm sure it's not. Well, there's never been an original. And further, there's no photograph. And I've only ever seen a photocopy of it.
Wow. I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it, seeing Ghislaine Maxwell. Ranveer, you did a documentary, of course.
I did. It's still on ITVX, one of the most watched documentaries of last year. Enormous interest still, even though we thought that, you know, paying that settlement had made it go away, clearly.
And what is it like for you? So you did the documentary investigating Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, her personality, who she is, her contact. And essentially, you know, the idea that her and Prince Andrew, many thought, had been in a relationship, a romantic relationship together, actually.
And to see her now talking, this is an exclusive and a first interview with her on television. Amazing. After being behind bars. It's remarkable.
She still looks very poised, though, doesn't she? She hasn't lost her sort of, you know, her poise and her sort of, and her, you know, she looks quite. She doesn't look as bedraggled as you might think somebody might be who's been accused and convicted of terrible crimes.
There were pictures of her yesterday running in the prison yard, which you kind of expect to see, like, through the wires of the fence, but to actually see her on the phone doing an interview.
And what do you think victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, will think when they see that?
I think they will be angry that she's been given a voice again. I think they will think that actually her conviction means that she is rendered silent and that their stories are important and that their experiences are what remembered. But the fact that she's still claiming the spotlight. But of course, we've got Prince Andrew now, who is also allegedly saying that he, you know, wants to look back at this and say it's a fake photo.
Well, let's talk to lawyer Lisa Bloom, who represents 8 of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Very good morning to you, Lisa Bloom. What do you think victims will think as they watch that interview with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yes, good morning. I can tell you that they are just disgusted and offended every time Ghislaine Maxwell opens her mouth and has an opinion on something. How does she know anything about that photo? Of course, she would never have received an original of it. In court proceedings, we work with photocopies, but I can tell you that Prince Andrew, when there was an active case against him, had every right to get the original, to send it out for testing, to prove the point that it was a fake if he wanted to make that point, and it never happened. And instead, he settled reportedly for millions of dollars, and that's where it's going to end. It really doesn't matter what Ghislaine Maxwell has to say about it.
In your experience, Lisa, because we're talking here about an accusation against Prince Andrew that he was doing something kind of illegal, but I mean, you know, with a young woman under the age of 18. Is this the kind of thing where people would often choose to settle out of court to make it go away, even if they believe that they were innocent?
Yes, settlements are the way that 95% of civil cases end. And many of the cases that I've done, sexual abuse cases against high-profile people, end that way. But I can tell you that his chances of wiggling out of the agreement now are somewhere between no way and no how. He is a grown man. He had very competent counsel. I know his attorneys. They are among the best in America. This settlement agreement was negotiated over a period of weeks, if not months, and he ultimately made the decision to sign his name to it. There is no judge that is going to let him out of that.
It is reported that the reason that Prince Andrew wanted to take legal action over the settlement was because Virginia Giuffre previously had dropped a case against another man saying she may have made a mistake in identifying him.
Very famous American attorney, Dershowitz.
So Prince Andrew might think, Well, is there a legal basis then for saying she might have made a mistake in identifying him?
No, that does not give him a legal basis because each case is different and turns on its own facts. I don't know what happened in the case between Virginia Giuffre and Alan Dershowitz. I know they have been fighting that fight for many years. It may be that she did make a mistake as to fact, as to Alan Dershowitz, but she has always been very clear as to her claims against Prince Andrew. And, you know, the fact that another case ended a different way is completely irrelevant when he signed a settlement agreement.
Gosh, thank you very much indeed, Lisa. I mean, talking to Andrew and Kevin here, it's hard to believe that the palace, talking this weekend about the plans for the King's coronation in May, that they would want Monday morning, the day after they were talking about this day of celebration, to be again overshadowed by Prince Andrew's...
first coronation since 1953. So many people will never see a coronation in their lifetime.
Yes.
And the suggestion is that King Charles is happy for Andrew. There's no way they would want this. They just want it to get... They thought it had gone away.
Well, and one of the reasons, apparently, that they, you know, that it was all settled was because they didn't want it to overshadow the Queen's Jubilee.
That's right. And also impact on her health anymore. She's a very old lady.
They didn't want it in court. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell, look, she's convicted, she's in prison, but she still protests her innocence. She's going to challenge that photograph. It was in her flat. But I remember Andrew went down the line of trying to challenge it and pushing back, and then he retreated because it entirely backfired on him. King Charles, as he is now, must wonder if he's run over a black cat and he's Aston Martin when he's got Harry, a wayward son, over the water having a go, and now he's got his brother he thought he'd banished and hidden away, kicking up this again.
I hadn't heard that from part of the legal team, saying there is an original photograph. And he would have had an opportunity to inspect it, and he didn't.
Well, and he paid millions of pounds.
About 11, apparently.
I mean, if you think today we're talking about Prince Andrew now. I think later in the programme we're going to be talking about Harry and Meghan and whether they will be invited to the
Well, they are
coronation.
invited.
Yeah, they're invited, but should they appear on the balcony?
Certainly not. Unless you want to have some practice for rotten tomatoes.
Come on.
Yeah, but Andrew, if they don't appear on the balcony,
I don't think they'll.
Also
I don't think they'll go to the coronation at all.
It's posh, shameless, isn't it? Just shameless for servants now. This family.
It'll turn into all about them, and it's not about them.
Just a normal family, then, Kevin, isn't it?
If they lived on a council estate instead of country estates, social workers and the police would know them rather well. Come on, they are utterly dysfunctional, aren't they? You know. It just shows a whole hereditary process is ridiculous. Like you just stick with the same family where they're all over, and you're getting fiends and rules.
Oh, is that part of the programme when these two,
Republican rant.
Republican
rant.
You defend your bunch of nasties.
Okay,
You know?
3 minutes to 7, just to say Prince Andrew, of course, consistently denied Ms Giuffre's claims and said he has no recollection of ever having met her.